This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
February 27th is the big day in the province of Ontario. We are covering all of the debates here on Rogers TV. I'm Sam Laprade. We're getting to know the candidates in many different wards right across the community. Today is all about Ottawa West-Nepean. And I'd like to introduce our two candidates that we'll get to know today. We have invited all of the candidates to the debate today. These are the two that took us up on our invitation. Chandra Pasma joining us today, and of course, Brett Schmuel. Thank you both for joining us. I'd like to start with some opening remarks. Chandra, you're first.
Thank you, Sam, and hi. I'm Chandra Pasma. I'm the NDP candidate in Ottawa West-Nepean. I've had the honor of being your MPP for almost 3 years. It has been my privilege to take your concerns to Queen's Park, to ask the tough questions of Doug Ford and his government, and to fight for the solutions you need on healthcare, affordability, and education. I've made it a priority to meet with you in my office, at your door, and at community events, to listen to your concerns and to take real action, including tabling legislation to tackle climate-related emergencies, to protect seniors against predatory retirement home fees, and to improve conditions in our schools. My team and I have helped thousands of residents navigate provincial programs and services and made sure you have access to the information that you need. I want to continue fighting for you to make sure you have access to the family doctor you need, a home you can afford, the schools your children deserve, and a more affordable life. On February 27, I hope I can count on your vote.
Brett.
Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Chandra. My name is Brett Schmuel, and I'm your Ontario Liberal Party candidate here in Ottawa West-Nepean. I'm a son, a grandson, a uncle, and a wife to a beautiful and brilliant woman. But I'm running in this election because I think Ontario can do better. Under 7 years of the Doug Ford PCs, we've seen a deterioration of our healthcare system. Over 2.5 million Ontarians, including 20,000 right here in our riding, are without a family doctor. We can do better. We must do better. We are going to modernize our healthcare system and take advantage of new technologies in order to ensure that we have more doctors in our community and expanding capacity in hospitals. We're going to hire 3,100 new doctors across the province, expand internationally trained physicians so that they can practice in our communities, and we're the only party out of all of them that will cut your taxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those opening remarks. We have some questions for you today. We look forward to hearing from all of you. We'll start with you, Chandra. We know that families here in Ontario are struggling. They're struggling to pay heat and hydro. They're struggling to pay for groceries, to keep food on the table for their families. There's certainly many families are not able to send their kids to extracurricular activities. This is the reality for people living in Ontario. It's very difficult for many of us to see that this is the Ontario that we're dealing with right now. What will you do in this election, and if you were elected again, for the affordability crisis that Ontarians are facing?
Thanks for that great question, Sam. This is something that I hear from people every day. Life has become completely unaffordable under Doug Ford. That's why the NDP has a proposal to help people with those really high grocery bills, providing a monthly grocery rebate to people who are earning less than $90,000 so that they can buy that healthy food that they need for their family, to build deeply affordable housing, doubling the supply of affordable housing, and making sure that we're reinstating real rent control so that people know that their landlord won't push them out of a home that they can afford. We also want to help people with their home heating bills, help them to install a heat pump that brings down the cost of heating, and make sure that they are able to have heat without breaking the bank account.
Thank you so much. Debate.
So we've really seen a crisis in the past 7 years now that's reached the point where people who are working full-time in Ontario they have to use a food bank. You can no longer count on a full-time job to be able to pay for your housing, to be able to pay for your food. That's why the NDP has a robust plan that will actually address the urgency, the seriousness, the scale of the crisis. Unfortunately, what we've seen from the Liberal Party is nothing that actually takes the extent of the crisis seriously, while the Conservative Party, they're actively making it worse. Housing starts are down to the lowest level that they've been since 1955. They've taken away real rent control. They've refused to tackle price gouging at the grocery store. And in fact, they've cozied up to big retailers like Shoppers Drug Mart and Loblaws. That's why you need a government that is actually going to take the crisis seriously and implement the real changes that you need to see.
Well, the Ontario Liberals are the only party in this election that will cut your taxes. If you earn anywhere between $51,000 and $75,000 a year, we will be reducing your income taxes by 22%. We're also going to be eliminating the provincial portion of the HST on home hydro and home heating. That'll give you a little bit extra each month. We are interested in creating jobs in this province. We are going to invest in our healthcare system, we are going to invest in our education system, and we're going to invest in the infrastructure that will actually build our economy for the future. For those on ODSP, we will double your ODSP and index it to inflation. Doug Ford said that those who take ODSP are lazy and sit at home watching the Flintstones all day, but I think his attitude is from the Stone Age. We need to ensure that people who are on ODSP have the dignity and respect they deserve, because prices right now are out of control and we need to provide a living, sustainable wage for everyone. Also, we will be cutting the small business tax. We will cut small business taxes in half. Right now they're at 3.2%. We'll be reducing that to 1.6%. 3 million Ontarians work in a small business. They're the backbone of our economy, and we believe that they deserve all of the support that they can get. And in terms of other things about the affordability, we will not advocate for a consumer carbon tax. We believe that it's time to do more for you.
Thank you. Rebuttal.
Every single day I speak to people who are spending all of their income on rent, who've been saving all their lives but can't afford to build a home in Ontario, who go to the grocery store and they have to reduce the amount of food that they need. You need and you deserve urgent help to address those challenges, and that's why the NDP has a plan that will immediately reduce your grocery bill, will immediately help you afford a place to live, and over the long term will invest in that supply of deeply affordable housing so that everybody can afford to live in Ontario.
Thank you so much. This next question is for Brett. To start off with, the number of immigrants, refugees coming to Canada and to the province of Ontario is extremely high. We know that it's put pressure on jobs, it's put pressure on housing and schools and healthcare. How will you ensure Ontarians go through this crisis we're having right now in this province and ensure that immigrants and refugees coming to Ontario get what they also need to survive in this province?
Right. Well, of course, we understand that immigration is a federal issue, but it does often fall on the provinces to manage the population growth that we experience and to plan for the future. And that's what we're going to do as Ontario Liberals. We are going to do what we can to alleviate some of the housing crisis that has been contributed to Doug Ford's cuts to post-secondary education. We're going to cap international students at 10% for all post-secondary institutions because, unfortunately, some in our province, not in our region here, like Algonquin College is a great college, but others in other parts of the province have taken advantage of that situation and made the housing crisis worse. We're going to cap that because we're going to put Ontarians in the driver's seat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Debate.
So newcomers are an incredibly important part of our social fabric.
Absolutely.
They add to the diversity and the richness of our country, of our economy, of our cultures. I know that I'm only here, and many of us are only here because my parents and grandparents came as immigrants, and Canada was a wonderful, welcoming place for us and a place of opportunity for us. And we want it to be like that for everyone who is coming to our country. It's shameful that we're in a situation where refugees and newcomers are left to live in shelters. We want to have a situation where everybody in Ontario, no matter where you came from, has access to a decent home that you can afford. And that's why we plan to double the supply of deeply affordable housing, non-market, co-op, community housing, so that we are actually building the homes that people need, the type of housing that they want to have, and the type of homes that they can afford. We want to make sure that everybody in Ontario can afford access to groceries and healthy food. But we also need to make sure that people are having access to decent job opportunities. And what we see all too often, yes, immigration is federal, but recognition of credentials that were obtained internationally, that is largely provincial. And we are seeing far too many cases of people who are coming with the skills that we desperately need in Ontario, who are not able to use those skills to benefit our economy and to benefit our community. And we need to take rapid action to make sure that when people come here to benefit us with their skills, that we're allowing them to do that, instead of making surgeons and doctors drive Ubers while we have a surgical backlog and people don't have access to family doctors.
It's true. Over the last 7 years, the healthcare system has deteriorated. And again, over 20,000 of you in Ottawa West-Nepean do not have a doctor. And that makes things so much worse when you want to get care urgently at the hospital. It clogs the system. And of course, we need immigrants. We need people who are working in these positions. And that's why, again, we will also ensure that we are more than doubling the number of internationally trained physicians who are able to receive accreditation, because other provinces in Canada, BC, Alberta, they're eating our lunch when it comes to internationally trained physicians. We can do much better. And of course, you know, my grandfather came to Pier 21 in the 1920s with hardly anything but the clothing on his back, and I really appreciate the multiculturalism that we have as a society. Ottawa West-Nepean is a vibrant and diverse community, and we always need to stand up for you. Thank you.
Your rebuttal starts now.
My rebuttal to
the original question.
To the original question. Well, again, you know, I'm just going to reiterate. We need to ensure that we are supporting those who find themselves without a home. We need to put more funding into emergency shelters, more supports to those who are falling through the cracks of our system as it exists today. And we always need to have each other's backs in Ontario. That's what Ontarians do. That's what Canadians do. Thanks.
We know that the LRT and public transit here in the capital has been an ongoing issue. Chandra, talk to me a little bit about the funding for the public transit system here in the Ottawa area, Ottawa West-Nepean, how important that is to the people of your riding as well. Talk to me a little bit about what you plan on doing for the LRT and public transit.
So I've heard from many people, both in my office and outdoor knocking, that they rely on public transportation, but with the deficit that OC Transpo has been running, they've seen services cut while fares are increased. So now if you depend on a bus to go to the grocery store, you might have to take 2 buses to get to the grocery store, and the bus only comes by once an hour. This is unsustainable for people. It's putting people in difficult situations. It's making some families have to buy a car when they would rather not, or they can't afford to. The NDP has a plan to take 50% of the cost of public transit operations, the way it used to be under the Bill Davis government before Mike Harris cut it, so that people are getting reliable service at reasonable rates in Ottawa.
Thank you. Debate.
Well, the Ontario Liberal plan, as it is now, is that we will upload the LRT to the provincial government, and we will allow the resources of the province to invest in the sort of capital infrastructure projects that we need, like Stage 3 LRT to Barrhaven and Canada. We are going to ensure that the funding that exists now is greatly increased over the next 4 years and beyond, because the people of Ottawa deserve a fair deal when it comes to public transit. And like many of you, I ride OC Transpo every day. I see the stress that it puts on us because we don't know if our bus will be late or if it will even show up at all. And we need to ensure that the city has the resources that it needs in order to actually provide quality bus service in our communities, connecting you to your job, your school, and other errands that you do on a daily basis. It's getting back to the basics, folks. This is what we need for the province to step up. We need to upload the LRT, and we need to ensure that the control of that uploading is kept here in Ottawa, that we have a seat at the table, because we can't allow decisions like the PCs are talking about. They want decisions to be made from an office in downtown Toronto. I think what we can do for the public transit planning in this city is best done locally. And we will work with municipalities, we'll work with local leaders here in Ottawa to ensure that we have the best transit possible.
So sadly, the LRT has been the laughingstock of the province, and unfortunately, all too often, the country and internationally, we've had a train that we can't depend on. It's been a textbook example of why public partner private ships cannot be counted on to always deliver to quality infrastructure. We had a train with wheels that aren't completely round, doors that don't open in the cold or in the heat, which we have a lot of in Ottawa. But what we're hearing from the Conservatives and the Liberals is a commitment to upload that LRT to Metrolinx. And Metrolinx is a company that has been working for 15 years to deliver a single LRT line in Toronto. They are over $4 billion above budget. They are years behind the delivery date. Handing it over to an agency that has already bungled transit elsewhere in the province is not the solution. The solution is investing in our municipal capacity to run our transit service, to offer the services you need at a fare that is reasonable.
Your rebuttal starts now.
So many people in Ontario, in Ottawa, depend on public transit to get around. They deserve a service that is reliable, that can be counted on, and that is reasonable within a budget that is already being strained by the high cost of living. The only way that we can do that is if we restore provincial funding to 50-50, the way that it was under the Bill Davis government, Conservative government, that was cut by Mike Harris. We are asking the municipality to fund a service that they are not able to fund and not giving people the service they deserve.
We know healthcare has been a huge challenge in this province. Family doctors are lacking, unfortunately. Many Ontarians are trying to search for that family doctor and waiting in long lineups to get them, long wait times for healthcare solutions, and overburdened emergency rooms. Brett, tell us what you will do for the people of Ontario to improve healthcare.
Yeah, we know that the state of the healthcare system needs to be improved, and it needs to be improved now. Over 2.5 million of you do not have a family doctor. 20,000 in our own riding do not have a family doctor. And I hear from folks every single day of horror stories of their grandmother in pain waiting in the hospital for 15 hours at Queensway Carleton. It's unacceptable. What we're going to do is we're actually going to reform the healthcare system, not just throw more money into it. We're going to use new technology that we can expand access to care outside regular office hours. We want to ensure that there are more folks able to actually give you the care that you need. 20 hours a week of paperwork for a doctor is far too much. We need to get rid of fax machines. We need to modernize the system.
Thank you. Debate.
There is no doubt that our healthcare system is in crisis. It is the number one thing that I've heard from people reaching out to my office over the past 3 years. It is the number one thing that I hear from people at the door. Too many people don't have access to a family doctor. Too many people are waiting too long at the emergency room, sick, in pain, worried, and anxious. People are waiting longer than they should be for treatments and surgeries. Too many people are being treated in the hallways of our hospitals, including 18 every day at the Queensway Carleton and 75 at the Ottawa Hospital. This should not be happening in our province, but it is the result of deliberate policy choices by the Ford government and by the Wynne government before them to break our publicly funded healthcare system so that they can divert money to private profits. We are seeing, as our healthcare system is struggling, money being diverted to for-profit private surgery clinics, to private nursing agencies that are gouging the system. We need to invest in our publicly funded system, make sure that the hard-earned taxpayer dollars that you are putting towards healthcare are actually going to deliver you healthcare. We in the NDP have a family health guarantee that we will make sure everybody in the province has access to a family doctor within 4 years. And within the first 100 days, there are immediate actions that we can take, actions that we've already proposed, but the Conservative government voted against. Taking paperwork off the desk of doctors so they can see an additional 2 million patients, expanding team-based care so that doctors are working with nurses and social workers and dietitians and others to ensure that everybody has access to the right level, appropriate level of care when they need it, and investing in our hospitals, using ORs around the clock to make sure we're bringing down that surgical backlog and making sure that our ERs have the capacity they need to treat the people who need urgent care in Ontario.
And we'll be ensuring that the proposed expansions to the Queensway Carleton Hospital are fully funded by the province because the West End of Ottawa absolutely needs that investment, especially in a growing population and an aging population. We're also going to be doubling the amount of medical school placements across the province, as well as opening 2 new medical schools in the province. And personally, if I had my say, I would want it to be somewhere in Eastern Ontario, but I digress. We need to ensure that our healthcare remains free at the point of use. It's one of the things we take pride in as Canadians, and we need to protect our
Your
healthcare.
rebuttal starts now.
Well, as I'm saying, we need to protect our healthcare. We need to ensure that it is protected against the creeping privatization by the Doug Ford PCs. They want to starve our healthcare system so that they can keep putting in more and more levels of privatization, and that is being paid for by you. That is being paid for by taxpayers on top of the private out-of-pocket service. You need to be paying, or you do not need to be paying. You need to be using your health card rather than your credit card. Thank you.
We know that many parents and students would give the education system here in this province a failing grade. What will you do, Chandra, if you were elected in this upcoming election for parents and children in this province to ensure that we get a passing grade for students in the province of Ontario?
Our education system is absolutely in a state of crisis after 7 years of cuts to education by Doug Ford. It's been $1,500 per student less this year than there was in 2018, and we see that impact every single day with crowded classrooms, too few teachers, not enough books and paper in the classrooms, school buses that don't run on time, cuts to special education programs. We need to start by investing in our children, creating an education system that is responsive to their needs instead of to the ideology of the government. We need to make sure that we're supporting every learner, building and fixing our schools so that they're safe for our kids, making sure that the school bus arrives on time, and that our children are supported by qualified, caring adults where they're at school every single day.
Thank you. Debate.
Well, as the son of a teacher, I talk with teachers and talk with people who work in schools every single day, and they are repeatedly telling me that they need more support to do the work that they do. The post-pandemic environment especially has become unique in terms of the needs of our youth, the needs of children, and we need more support for special education resources, more support for ensuring that the schools are in a state of good repair. About a third of schools right here in Ottawa are in right now a state of what is deemed not good repair. That's unacceptable. We need a world-class education system. Good education, good public education is the core of our economy and the core that we will be building the future on. We need to ensure that your grandchild or child is going to school in a safe environment, free from the violence that we've increasingly been seeing in recent years, so that teachers have what they need in order to deliver quality education. And of course, parents need the resources that they are able to help out as well. We need a whole approach at the community level to engage with one another, to engage with school boards, engage with the municipality, because we need to have a full approach on this. And in terms of school buses, I've been hearing repeatedly, especially in more of the rural and ex-urban areas, that we need to have quality school buses. It's unacceptable that children are left waiting, or that parents have to take time out of their very busy schedules to work their way around in that way. We need to do better across the board, full stop.
I'm a parent of 3 school-aged children who are in our local schools here in Ottawa West-Nepean. I've seen firsthand the impacts of Ford's funding cuts on the supports that are available to our children, the ways in which our children are struggling with their learning post-pandemic, and also their mental health. How these crises are contributing to a scenario in our schools where there's rising violence, where children are not getting the academic, the mental health supports that they need. Our kids deserve the best possible education. And in order to receive the best possible education, we need a government that is committed to being a partner with our education partners, and that is committed to delivering the best possible results for our children every single day. Not a government that wants to break the system in order to privatize it, a government that is committed to children first and foremost. Our education system should be the highest quality education system in the world. Every child should receive the supports that they need to learn in a safe, supportive school environment. That means no lead in the drinking water. It means having teachers and education assistants in your classroom. It means school buses that arrive on time. It means support for Francophone education. And it means making sure that every child is at school with a full belly so that they can concentrate on learning instead of on their hunger.
Thank you so much. We have time for one more question. Each of you will have 1 minute to answer. going from children to seniors. Brett, what will you do for the seniors of Ontario? Many of them also finding it very challenging to live in this affordability crisis in terms of long-term care opportunities as well. What will you do for Ontario seniors?
Yeah, well, I have my own Nana and Papa living in Orillia, and I've seen them age in the last few years. They're getting up there in their 90s, and one of the things I keep hearing from seniors across the riding is the sense that there's a lot of loneliness out there and a lot of lack of real resources and communities. So we need to be more creative about how we approach these issues, including in our long-term care homes. We need to redesign the long-term care home strategy that we have, or the model that we have, so that it better reflects your daily life and the kind of way that you want to age gracefully into your golden years. So we're going to do that, and we're going to listen to seniors. We're going to ensure that you can stay home as long as you can, have home care, and have supports for those services that you might have at home that allow you to stay there, because nobody wants to leave home before they have to.
Chandra.
There's no doubt that seniors are struggling right now in our province, and this shouldn't be happening. Seniors built our province, and they deserve a dignified retirement with the services that they need. We are seeing people who are struggling to afford housing, who are facing rent evictions. After years of hard work, they're facing homelessness. We see seniors who are struggling with the high cost of groceries, seniors who aren't receiving the home and community care that they need and deserve, and so who are ending up staying in hospital longer than they should be, or who are ending up in long-term care facilities against their will. We saw the Ford government pass a bill that has been forcing them to move out of hospital into long-term care facilities that they haven't chosen. The NDP has a plan to help seniors, building deeply affordable, supportive housing, investing in home and community care to make sure you get the care you need to stay in your own home to keep you out of hospital, making sure that you can afford your groceries with a monthly grocery rebate, and investing in innovative programs like Oasis, which help bring seniors together to identify what solutions they need for the challenges that they're facing.
We'll have closing statements from you both now. Brett, I'll ask you to go first.
Well, thank you for your time, and thank you to Rogers TV for organizing this, and thank you, Sam, and thank you, Chandra, as well. We need a government in Ontario that is going to get back to the basics and put first things first. We do not need to waste $150 billion plus of your money in Ottawa West-Nepean on a fantasy tunnel through the middle of Toronto. We need to focus on the basics. We need to invest in our education system, invest in our healthcare system, and modernize our healthcare system. We need to build the homes that your kids and grandkids are going to need if they want to stay in this province, because too many of my friends are telling me that they have to move somewhere else if they want to own a home one day. That's unacceptable. We need to get back to the basics, and the only way that we get a new government in this province is by electing as many Liberal MPPs as we can. When Ottawa West-Nepean votes Liberal, we get a Liberal government. When we don't, we get a PC government. It's just that simple.
Thank you, Brett. Chandra.
After 7 years of Doug Ford, things are not okay in Ontario. The number of people without a family doctor is growing. Too many people can't find a home they can afford, whether you rent or you're looking to buy. It's tough to afford groceries and pay the bills. Our children are in crumbling schools, too often in classrooms that don't have even enough books, paper, or pencils, let alone a qualified teacher. You deserve a government and an MPP that's on your side, that will hire the doctors, build the homes, fix the schools, fight the tariffs, and make life more affordable. If I am re-elected, I will continue to fight hard for you every single day. You deserve no less. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of our candidates. A reminder, we did invite all candidates to today's debate here for Ottawa West-Nepean, and these two candidates were the only two that took us up on the invitation. February 27th is a very important day here in the province of Ontario. I encourage you to get out and vote. And with all of the snow that we've seen in this election period, go to those advance polls. Get your voice heard early in this election. You've heard from these candidates today. We encourage you to watch all of the debates here at Rogers TV. This is an important election for healthcare, for education, and for you. I'm Sam LaPrade. Thanks for joining us.